Hello and welcome to the Green 19 podcast. I'm Dominique Yates. I'm joined by Ryan Wood and Tom Silverstein. Less than 24 hours from being in Chicago, where the Packers 2025 season came to an end in a fashion that we have seen more than once. And now it is on to 2026. And, I don't really know what to say. It's like I feel like I've started this podcast many times the same way, and we've made the same points, and we could have just copied and pasted previous podcasts, but here we are, and there's a lot of unanswered questions about this Packers team and what it looks like next year. So, guys, we can obviously talk about the Bears game, but, also Matt LaFleur talked on this, what day is it, Sunday? Mm-hmm. So there is still plenty that we can just kind of run through and reflect on. But, how you guys can just kind of start us off. What do you kind of make of what transpired Sunday night and what is to kind of come and what's kind of been on your mind over the last several hours?
It's hard to know the right time to post this podcast because the reality of what we have right now is that a decision is coming very soon on Matt LaFleur's future. Mm-hmm. Matt LaFleur said that he briefly spoke with Ed Policy on the team flight back, and that he'll either be speaking with Ed Policy Sunday night or sometime Monday. So by the time you listen to this, we might know more than we do right now.
Yeah.
But that's where they're at. And to your point, Dominique, about not knowing what to say, I don't know what to say new, other than this. At the end of every season, there's a totality. You see the full picture now. And the reason why the Packers lost is the most inexcusable reason why you can lose any game, but especially that game, especially the postseason, a season-ending loss. They lost because they did not have the same will to win that the Chicago Bears did. They did not show the same fight in the second half, and they have to have that hanging all over their heads this entire offseason now. It came down to that. It's not because of the injury situation. It's not because they weren't good enough to beat the Chicago Bears. Through 3 games this season, they outplayed the Chicago Bears for the majority of all 3 games, and they're 1-2.
Yeah.
It's because they didn't show and match the exact same will to win, which starts with the head coach. And that is where the decision is going to lie. Spoon, I know you have a lot to say on this too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what is noticeable is that in the 2 losses to the Bears, a trend continued about their inability to finish games, to be clutch in clutch situations. And, it started with the Cleveland game, and they had a chance to win that game. That continued with the Dallas game. They had a chance to win that game. They couldn't win it. The Philadelphia game, they had 2 possessions in the final 2 minutes, and they couldn't win that game. And we're talking about big games. Some of these are games that could have had a big impact on the season. Denver's another one. Yeah. They should have won that game. And then you come to the 2 Bears games. One is essentially for the division. So you go down to Chicago, you're up 21-6 with 5 minutes left, and it's for the division. All you have to do is finish them off, and you can't. Okay. So that happens. All right, but you get another shot at them, and this time it's for the divisional playoffs, and the same thing happens. You get up 21-3, and you can't finish them off again. And that comes down, that's a trend. Yeah. So that's either coaching, players, or something strange in the water. And I think the Packers have a good roster, and I think injuries certainly hurt them, but they didn't hurt them enough that they couldn't win 9 of 12 quarters against the Bears. Yeah. And so then it comes down to coaching, and I just think, as I said in my column, Matt LaFleur is a good coach, but he's made some decisions that haven't been good. He's not actively improved his staff. He's not. He's stuck with Rich Bisaccia and special teams. He got
Bacchus,
offensive line. Both, and Stenovich. Didn't bring in somebody who could up the game a little bit, right? And I think there's some other spots in his staff that are weak.
Yeah.
And then finally, he didn't come through with adjustments, with things that, really good minds do. And he has that capability, but for some reason he didn't. And I don't know if it's because it's been 7 years since he's been here and stuff has gotten stale. And, he's got a way of doing things and then he didn't change it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't personally buy the 7-year stale argument because I get the history is stacked against him, but because coaches that haven't been in the playoff or the Super Bowl for 7 years usually don't get there. I don't know how many of those coaches had such a transitional fundamental shift. This is not the same team as 2019-20. This is really the third year with the bulk of this roster. They changed a chapter from Aaron Rodgers and that group to Jordan Love in this group. So I in that way, I feel like 7 years is deceiving. But what's not deceiving, I agree with everything you said about the regular season games they should have won. But those of us who have the long scope of this team know it started in the 2020 NFC Championship game.
Right.
You're down 8 points. You're driving to tie the score at your home against the Bucks on your home field, and you settle for a field goal. You watch the Bucks celebrate a trip to the Super Bowl inside Lambeau Field. 2021, you have a statement drive in the divisional round against the 49ers. You look like you're world beaters. You're the best team in the NFL. You don't close and you lose the game because of a blocked punt. 2023, you're riding high coming off that huge blowout in Dallas, going into San Francisco divisional round. You have a touchdown lead midway through the fourth quarter. You miss a field goal. Christian McCaffrey scores a game-winning touchdown. The next season, even Philadelphia, a year ago, you score a touchdown in the fourth quarter, you're down 6. You're a stop away from having the ball down up one possession. You give up a field goal. You're down 9. You don't ever get within a single possession again. If what happened in Chicago was some sort of tragic accident, a fluke, a one-off, even if what happened this season was that, it would be hard. As an organization, you would be very disappointed right now. But you could at least say this is a fluke. The reality is that this is a trend with this head coach, which they consistently lose big games that are close. He hasn't got one of these to swing their way. That to me is the indictment, more than the 7-year thing. It's the fabric of this team is that they are not tough enough to pull through in these situations repeatedly.
Yeah, I mean, where's that killer instinct? Where is that mindset of you're up 10, you're up 14, you're on the road, the team is quiet, the fans are quiet, they're out of it.
There's no quiet at Soldier Field.
There's no energy there, right? So when is it like, okay, we're going to step our foot on their necks and not look back? That's what the Eagles did last year during their playoff run. They didn't look back. That's what some of these teams, these Super Bowl caliber teams, have done. And when did you see it this season? Maybe Thanksgiving in Detroit, where they were like aggressive and they were physical and they were executing at a high level, but you didn't see it in Cleveland, you didn't see it in Dallas, all these games that you guys mentioned. And I mean, when is it kind of like, okay, there's enough? Like, that's just a trend, it's an issue. So, but I am curious too, right? But that's what I'm curious for you, Spoon. Did that last Bears game, in terms of what your column, was it after you read that column, it was like, okay, enough is enough? Or have you always been kind of been in this mindset of, it might be time for a change?
No, I wasn't thinking that it was time for a change. And it may have been a knee-jerk reaction to the way they lost. As I sit here now, I still think it would be best if they could move on. But, I've had more time to think about who would replace him, who they could get to replace him. And that's the biggest. And that I knew that 2 weeks ago or whatever when I wrote about it, that there weren't many great candidates to replace him. And I don't know if there are now. I don't know if you really want John Harbaugh. I think you could get him, but I'm not sure. I don't know if he's the right guy. You never know if you're getting the right guy. But Green Bay has long had offensive coaches because they've always had good quarterbacks. And you want your quarterback to have an influential guy who runs the team being the head coach. And I don't know if there's that guy out there. So what we're looking at is, okay, what is Ed Policy going to do? Is he going to, in the face of these horrific losses, do you have enough confidence to give Matt LaFleur 2 or 3 more years? I wouldn't. Do you have the confidence to give him 1 more year and say, okay, let's run it back next year and see what happens? And if it doesn't work then we're done. Or do you say, I got a potential Super Bowl team next year, provided everyone stays healthy, and do I just find the right guy, the Ben Johnson type guy who can lead me to that place? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's what's very, I don't know what's the word, damning about it. You a first-year head coach in Ben Johnson, to have a group down 21-3 at home and not panic, but you have a team in Green Bay that, yeah, the youngest team in the NFL, but these guys have been together for 3 years now. Jordan Love played really well on that stage. Like, how can you not get the team over the finish line? That is just something that I still kind of can't figure out, and I don't know if any of us can, but again, it's a very fascinating thing when you listen to LaFleur, even in the post-game press conference, say how they adjusted, they started blitzing and bringing pressure, and as the play caller, you didn't have a counter for it.
First of all, I'm going to let you off the hook here, Spoon. I don't think that was a knee-jerk reaction at all.
No.
Considering the years and years and years of evidence that there is to pointing at this is a team that has losses like this. This was not, if this was 2014, okay, that's a knee-jerk reaction. It's been years of this. The common cliche used in after losses in general, and this is where Matt LaFleur's mind still was a day after the loss, is to point at execution, is to point at lack of adjustments, and certainly they could have executed better. Certainly they could have adjusted better once the Bears started putting pressure on Jordan Love in the second half. But those are tropes to hide behind. This was a culture loss.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't want to hear about execution and adjustments.
You've seen it too much.
It's the identity of your team. Yeah. That's why you lost.
It's totally the identity, and you had players saying that after the game.
Yeah, so
like Quay Walker, those comments, yeah.
Whatever
Josh
Jacobs,
yeah.
Whatever they do, the answer, whether it's Matt LaFleur or not, and if it's not Matt LaFleur, whoever the next guy is, the question has to be, who can build the championship DNA identity? Because that's the head coach's number one job, and Matt LaFleur has not done that. That is why they lost. Because they don't have that championship pedigree, identity, DNA. Yeah. That has to be what they address this offseason.
And I don't think they had it on either side of the ball. I'm going to be a little critical of Jeff Hafley because I don't think he finished games, in an aggressive fashion. When things were going badly, I don't feel like he pulled enough strings, took chances. He always played it the same way, and that's consistency is good, but to see them fall apart and give up 25 points in the fourth quarter, I still blame the game on the offense, the loss on the offense. But I agree about the culture thing. Like, should LaFleur have been showing them films of old Bears Packers games to fire them up? Should he have been blasting video of Ben Johnson saying he's going to beat the Packers, twice a year or whatever, something,
Or just show them the film from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Just show them that film.
Yeah, right.
You made a great point a few weeks back. I think this might have been after Baltimore, where I was talking about how the way that Malik Willis has developed is a strong endorsement of Matt LaFleur, because Matt LaFleur is a tremendous offensive mind, and he is. He really, really is. He's a tremendous play call. He's got a beautiful offensive mind. But you said, sounds like a really good quarterbacks coach. And the reality in this league is that really good quarterbacks coaches get hired as head coaches.
Yes.
But the reality of this league also is that when you are a head coach, your job first and foremost is establishing team culture and identity.
Oversee it
And
all.
they have established a team culture and identity. The team culture and identity that Matt LaFleur has established is not a championship identity. That's the problem.
Yeah. Right. I think it's so weird just to kind of think about it. Even me as the new guy, whenever they missed that extra point and with the score is 27-16, I look at Pete Doherty, you guys right there, I'm like, yeah, the Packers are losing this game.
We all thought it.
It's
We all
over.
thought it. Oh, they're up 11.
Up 11.
But here's why. Matt LaFleur credited over and over again the Bears for their fight. He said they talked about it ad nauseum all week about how this is a team that even if you get up, they're coming back. They're going to fight and claw. They're going to do that Al Pacino. Claw for that inch. It's the living embodiment of that speech in Any Given Sunday. They talked about it. They knew it. My question is, why can't you be that team? Why can't you be the team that's going to fight and claw for everything instead of knowing that you're facing a team like that and you better be ready? Why don't you do that? They don't, and they're up 11. That game should be over.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, and you knew it at the time because we know this team and we knew the position they were in.
Yeah.
There's also just been some overall, I don't want to say dereliction. It's a little strong word, but we've talked all year about not using Malik Willis in creative ways. We talked about Jordan Morgan not playing left tackle, and they got totally burned by Rasheed Walker. He played like crap yesterday.
Matthew Golden.
Yeah, Matthew Golden. Bingo. You telling me that what that guy did, wasn't worth putting him ahead of Dontavian Wicks?
Where was that in November?
Season?
What do you
Right.
say? Or why are you using Bo Melton?
Yeah, or why are you? Yeah, why is this guy not being used? I mean, you saw it. I think it's just so puzzling that they have been their own worst enemies in some cases.
Very
Is
much
it
so.
Cultivated the talent.
Isn't it fascinating? 2 weeks ago, Adam Stenavich says Matthew Golden's not going to be a premium player for us come playoffs, which is, give him credit for transparency. That's where their thought process is. Why not?
Yeah.
Spoon, I thought you made a lot of great points in your column. Right at the top of that piece is all the players that they have developed on this offensive coaching staff, and they have. There's a lot of players that they have really nicely developed.
Absolutely.
But they haven't developed the last 2 first-round picks.
No.
And you know what? I don't know that dereliction is too strong of a word there for Matthew Golden and Jordan Morgan.
Yeah.
Jordan Morgan played a great game yesterday.
He did.
I mean, he was really solid. People were blaming him for 1 sack, and it was not his fault. Why weren't these guys in premium position? Another thing I'll say is just some of the lack of accountability. Keyshawn Nixon commits just the dumbest of dumb penalties. The same penalty that had been committed on that field 3 weeks earlier, you saw that had been committed and that it gets 15 yards, and you go ahead and do it again. And they leave him in the game.
Yeah.
They don't take him out. They don't chew him out on the sideline. Carrington Valentine's been missing tackles for so long. How long did it take them to finally pull him out of the line? And why didn't Trevon Diggs play yesterday?
Diggs. No. They didn't use
At
Diggs.
all.
No.
I mean, 1 play I think he played or something like that. It's all just so static. They're not a progressive team. That's kind of my biggest issue with them.
You're speaking to there's 2 things here that kind of go hand in hand. The lack of accountability, that's soft. And it's soft in regards to your reaction toward an immature decision, which is what Keyshawn Nixon jumping on that pile is. Immaturity is coming out of a timeout with a delay of game penalty. There's a lot of immaturity with this team that should be more experienced in this. They're young, fine. They have been in the postseason the last 2 years, so young is not an excuse. They are plenty of experience to not be this immature. How do you continue to be this immature when you are soft in your reaction to immaturity? Those go hand in hand.
Yeah. I mean, burning the number of timeouts because of substitutions. You come out of a timeout and you have a delay a game.
Do the math. Count the players. Like, it should not. It's not rocket science. It's arithmetic you learned in second grade.
Yeah, and that's the thing that really even stands out when we've talked about some of the mistakes and the penalties. We're not talking about the rookies. There's the occasional Warren Brinson face mask in Chicago, or maybe
that just happened.
That happens.
Yeah, that's
what I'm saying.
Football.
He's making a play.
And like I said, those are minor things, but it's the unsportsmanlikes that are happening from the same guys, the holding penalties that are happening from the same guys,
tackles.
The inability to get an onside kick.
Yes, it's like all of these little things that are happening from guys that have been around here. And so it kind of goes back to I can't remember the coach who said you're either coaching it or you're allowing it, and they've allowed a lot of these things to continually happen, game after game, season after season. It's just a problem that who knows if this is the staff to fix them.
So, guys, everything we're saying here, how do you come back from all this? I mean, these are institutional things. How do you come back with the same institution and fix what has not been fixed for years? I just don't know how Matt LaFleur comes back from that.
Must be staff. If he's back, it's got to be staff.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you have to demand some changes on his staff.
Yeah.
And then you got to build a culture.
Maybe you have to draft a different type of player now. Maybe the cerebral guy that Ryan Gutekunst likes, is not the guy you get anymore. Maybe you need more of the badasses that, the Austin Bookers who get, keep using their helmet to hit people. But I don't know. He seemed to be an effective player. I don't know if that's the answer or not. I mean, you'd like to have good athletes who are cerebral, but I don't know.
It just feels like from top to bottom, and like I said, it's not all on one person. It's not all on one coach. It's the whole organization.
Well, ultimately, it's on the floor. He is the head coach, and so it funnels to him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The answer is to move on.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the answer is to move on to X, Y, or Z. I don't know who that guy is.
I'll get to that, but I've been trying to think of if I'm Ed Policy, what reason would I have? What reason would I see to keep Matt LaFleur? And about the only thing I can even think of at this point is if you keep Matt LaFleur, it better come with Jeff Hafley too. If you lose Jeff Hafley, I don't know why you wouldn't start from scratch. Because if you have Matt LaFleur leading the offense and Jeff Hafley leading the defense, that is a pretty good battery on your offense and defense. They're in good hands, not perfect hands, and that is no comment at all about the lack of team championship culture and identity. But just in terms of that battery leading the offense and defense, if you're going to run it back, it better be together. Because if it's not, I don't know why you wouldn't start from scratch.
What if you get... See, the problem I have with that is Matt LaFleur and Jeff Hafley are the same guy. I think Jeff Hafley will be the same kind of coach that Matt LaFleur is. So maybe your defensive guy and your special teams guy have to be the hard asses who are, setting the tone, setting the culture for the team. Because you know how good defensive and good special teams are. I mean, they're bad. They hit people. They play at a level. Micah Parsons himself raised the level of intensity throughout the entire defense. You need a coach to help. I mean, it's great to have Micah Parsons doing that, but it all kind of went down a little bit after he went out.
My problem with that is you don't need a coach to do that. That has to come from the head coach. If your head coach isn't a hard ass, your team's not going to be a hard ass.
I don't know. I think if your head coach is I don't think a Kyle Shanahan is like a hard ass, but his teams play pretty physical. His offense is pretty physical. He's got physical players. He's got Robert Saleh, they play physical defense. They're not a great team this year, but when they were really good, they were physical.
That's also a team, though, that they've had their share of big game flameouts.
They
as
have,
well.
but they've at least made it to the Super Bowl,
They have.
and they're competitive, and they have tons of injuries, and they manage to be competitive. Anyway, my point is that maybe you can get away with Matt LaFleur staying as head coach if you put the right people around him.
It does make you wonder, and it does make you think about it. Because, I mean, how many times, even just in a car ride or something, I've said, how many press conferences do you have to listen to? And it's like, how are you going to attack it? It depends on what the defense gives you. And then you listen to, like, a Dan Campbell, and it's like, we're going to bite kneecaps off. We're going to shove it down their throat.
Go for fourth down every time.
Go for fourth down. We're going to be aggressive. Like I said, you saw that with Ben Johnson. Yeah, you saw a little bit more flash in terms of offensively, but he was aggressive. He went for it on fourth down. He was like coming, and he played to win at the end of the day.
Well, who is this Packers team, right? I can tell you who the Detroit Lions are, for better or worse. They're going to be extremely aggressive in their brand of football. They are going to be physical, and they're going to be
run the ball.
They're going to be borderline reckless when it comes to fourth down.
Yeah.
Not even borderline. They're going to be reckless when it comes to fourth down.
Yeah.
Who are the Packers? They're a team that is going to hunt and search for matchup advantages in their scheme. And a lot of times they're going to be pretty good at that because Matt LaFleur does a pretty good job at that. But what is that when you're hunting and searching for matchup advantages and that is your identity? That is reactionary. It's what is the defense or the offense doing, and then we're going to adjust to that. And it's not being assertive. It's not putting your brand of football and this is what we're going to do no matter what. Multiple times this season, Sean Ryan told me after games, a year ago, our running game, teams knew we were coming. Teams knew we were running. Mm-hmm. We got to get back to that where we're going to run it even if you know we're coming. Yeah. That's not their brand.
No, they never got back to that.
No,
never did.
And I mean that in the big picture. I mean, like they don't assert themselves in their brand on the game. They adjust to what matchups they're being given.
Yeah, I mean, if I was keeping Matt LaFleur, I'd require three things. One, he's got to have a veteran offensive line coach, guy with some credentials, no nonsense, sets a tone for very physical play, I mean, not everybody can have Jess Stoutland, but you can still find a veteran guy. Plus, you could pay him if there's guys available. The Packers can pay anybody. Defensive coordinator with, a choose metal. You got to have a guy like that. And then a special teams coach with, help set the tone, where your special teams help set the tone. Rich Bisaccia's team, they cover well. They don't ever do a fake. They don't ever, force fumbles. They commit a lot of penalties. They're very passive as a special teams unit,
It's do no harm, and then they still end up doing harm anyway.
Yeah. And
they lose by fakes, though, last year in Chicago, against Chicago.
I think they need, that. So that's how you could keep Matt LaFleur and change the culture. In my opinion.
Are you advocating for if Matt LaFleur returns, he makes a change at defensive coordinator when you say a defense coordinator with metal?
Oh, I think Hafley's going to be – I think someone's going to hire Hafley. So he's going to have to hire someone. I would – if they could pry Anthony Campanelli back from Jacksonville, if for some reason he could be extracted, I'd go with a guy like him. I don't think I would go with a Raheem Morris cover 2 type team. I think they've got with Micah Parsons. I don't think you want to be a drop 6-7 guys team. I think you want to be an aggressive, go after it kind of a team, and then freaking fix the special teams. Find someone with a track record of having coached special teams.
Yeah, I know. There were many. I can't tell you how many times when special teams came on the field, especially kick return. I was, no flag? Really?
Yeah.
What happened? There was no flag that happened on this play?
Here's my team of special teams, and Dominique knows this well. We've gone back and forth on this.
Yes, we have.
I have seen Sean Slocum, Ron Zook, Mo Drayton, and Rich Bisaccia fail. At a certain point, you keep trying to hire the right guy. And I'm not absolving I'm not saying Rich Bisaccia is the right guy, but you keep trying to find the right guy, and you don't. it stops being about the coordinator, starts being about your organizational philosophy when it comes to special teams.
Right.
That is the problem. The
That
problem
is
is not
true.
the coordinator. It is not who the coordinator is. Because what's the definition of insanity? If you hire another special teams coordinator but don't change anything in your philosophical approach to special teams, guess what? Your fifth that I have covered here with the Green Bay Packers, whoever it is, won't be the right guy either. You will not fix special teams. It will continue to be a problem that ends seasons. You have to actually... Josh Jacobs returned kicks in the playoffs. Why? Why did Romeo Doubs return punts? Because they never filled those positions. They didn't have a full-time kickoff and punt return specialist. That's an excuse. You have to.
You know,
You have to have someone that can do it at a competent level. At a full-time, I can actually make a play once in a while level. They did not have that because you let soft immaturity. You let Keyshawn Nixon, who's a two-time All-Pro, say, no, I'm cornerback one now, even though he's not. Yeah. And you took someone who could do it, and you didn't use him until the playoffs. When is it surprising that Keyshawn Nixon didn't have that juice when he hadn't done it all year? Right. No. Mm-hmm. What if he'd done it all year? Maybe he would be able to do that. You never filled the positions. You let players dictate what they will and will not do on a team. Keyshawn Nixon was signed primarily for a special teams ability. Like, they knew he could play corner too. Mm-hmm. They expected him to play some corner. He was not signed to be a number one corner. He was signed to be an all-pro kickoff return specialist, and then you let him never do it. That's inexcusable. On top of that, do you need to change the formula of your player eval to have guys that don't just play offense and defense really well and can actually be on the field for special teams, but someone that can actually play special teams well and contribute in that way? Because if not, teach them all you want. If they don't have the capacity to do it, they're just going to continue being flags. You're not going to have proper fundamentals and technique because they can't do special teams. Do you have to change your formula on how you eval? Yes. It's an organizational approach. It's not about the coordinator. That's the secondary issue. The primary issue is how you organizationally approach it.
It's very interesting to watch Carolina, Isaiah Simmons block a punt.
Yep.
Or watch McCole Hardman return a punt return for a touchdown. Those are the type of things that I watch, and I'm just like, will this group, in terms of the Packers, ever move the needle? Like, will there ever be that moment? And so...
Not until you prioritize it.
Yeah.
And they don't prioritize it.
You're going to have to.
I think they have some really good coverage people. I think they have some really good talent. I mean, they have, the leading punter in the league. Mm-hmm. They had a good kicker for a little while.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. No, I'd be surprised if he's back.
Yeah.
I can't see him being brought back. They have the right people to be a good special teams, but they're not.
Yeah, I guess that's what's where I couldn't figure it out either. They took some gambles that didn't work. Like Matthew Golden never returned punts in high school or college or anything, and
didn't follow through on it, though, because he took one hit, and
Dallas.
Then I didn't even freaking play him after that. So what? If you're not going to play him, at least run, put him out there.
Use him for something. So
no, and Dom, go ahead and give your stance here. You think it's a Rich Bisaccia issue?
Of course.
That's where you think the special teams is.
Yes. I'm not saying that the organization isn't a problem. Like I said, I think there's issues top to bottom. I think the organization is messed up at times. Like, for example, picking up Nate Hobbs, who wasn't an outside guy, and Aaron Banks at times didn't work out either. But yes, no, I'm not disagreeing that they did not prioritize special teams enough and they need to. But I said I also will, I'm not saying you didn't do this either, but I'm saying I'm not ever going to give Rich Bisaccia off the hook either because... where's the technique being taught? Where is some of these things? I'm never saying you got to change the momentum. You got to have a punt return for a touchdown or a kick return for a touchdown. But why do all of those things happen to you? How do you give up almost 50-yard returns in Dallas? How did the Bears have a big return in the game on Sunday? Yeah. 2 big returns on Sunday, but you can't get one. Those are the type of things that, again, it's kind of fascinating to me. Then on top of the fact that guys I mentioned that were on this roster who couldn't even make it are doing great things on special teams for other teams. Those are the type of things that, again, you could say I wrestle with.
I am just at a place where I am so apathetic toward who the next special teams coordinator is because following the 2021 season, and Mo Drayton's inability to stop teams from blocking their field goals and punts. 2, the field goal before halftime and the punt at the end of the game against the 49ers, your season-ending loss. I was saying, hey, they finally understood they need a veteran special teams coordinator. They need someone. They need to shell out the money. They need someone with a long track record of success in this league. And then over the last 3 years, I have seen Rich Bisaccia not be the guy. So at this point, it's like it doesn't matter who the guy is. You got to fix it organization.
All that starts back with not hiring Darren Rizzi when they had a chance, and that goes to Ed Policy, who was negotiating the contract and kind of lowballed him, and he was like, "Okay, I'm out of here." But you're catching up. You were playing catch up after that instead of having 7 years of probably, top 10 special teams the whole time. So all of a sudden, you get to this point with Mo Drayton, and you're like, well, let's just throw money at Rich Bisaccia. He's got a record as a special teams coach, where they were pretty good 8 years ago or something like that, and you throw money at it, and it didn't work. Yeah. And so now, where are you? Now,
what you just said with Darren Rizzi is the definition of priority.
Yeah.
You're not prioritizing
They've never prioritized special
That's the problem.
Here. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so it definitely does. It goes up top.
It goes way back.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, overall, it's been a failed operation. That's one thing that
100%.
There's no argument with. So, yeah, there's some of those moments that, I watch the front office guys. I'm like, man, you got to prioritize it. But then also, again, I'll watch the product on the field. Like in Dallas on the blocked kick, I'm like, why is a young guy, Brant Banks, next to Luke Musgrave, who can't block anybody? Like, why are they lined up beside each other in those moments? And, shocker, a guy gets through. Like, why isn't Kraft right over there? Why is it, there's so many of these little things that I'm just like, what's going on out here?
Even so, when you say it's been a failed operation, I genuinely wonder how much Matt LaFleur realizes that. Because when I ask him, Matt, this has been a years-on problem.
Yeah.
How do you fix it? His response is, well, what parts of the special teams do you mean? That's not the answer. Who cares? Who gives a damn?
Yeah.
Your special teams lose you games and end seasons. Yeah. It doesn't matter what part of it is. Collectively, that's what they do. How do you fix it? And that goes back to culture and identity. Mm-hmm. And it's not about the components. It's about the collective. Culturally, you need a competent special teams that does not lose you games and end seasons.
Yeah, as a follow-up, well, not as a follow-up, but just like a point, because Spoon talked about it as well. So, if LaFleur came back, in your mind, Ryan, what do you think moves and steps should be made for maybe coaches or whatever the case may be?
Well, if they lose Jeff Hafley, I'm with Spoon that you're going to want someone who's a bit of a hard ass. But I can't get I just feel like that's the head coach's job. Where this team is they have to establish championship identity, and it has to start from the head coach. And if it can't start from the head coach, I don't feel like that's too important to me to leave that to be someone else's job on the staff to do. It has to be from the top man. It has to be from the guy who all eyes are on him. And when all eyes are on Matt LaFleur, you're not getting that championship DNA for years now. Mm-hmm. That's why I can't get myself to a mindset of Matt LaFleur's coming back from this. It's just the culture and identity are not there.
Yeah, it's just been flat. And that was always the question. There's so many questions and so many thoughts that you can run your head through because, again, it's like if LaFleur were to come back, maybe was it because of Jordan Love? Like, is Jordan Love, would that be the reason maybe LaFleur came back because he's heading to year 4?
Absolutely. Yeah, that could be a reason.
Right, could that be a reason why?
This is a small thing, okay, in the grand scheme of things, but I do sometimes wonder if it matters. It's a very interesting locker room because you've got some guys in that locker room as far as how they deal with the media. And that's why I'm saying it's a small thing, okay? I'm not trying to overemphasize our role in that locker room, but there's some guys who are always accountable. There are some guys who, even when it's hard, they will take questions that are hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They will face the music.
Yeah.
They will do what's unpleasant.
They did yesterday.
And then there are some guys who you never see.
Nope.
And isn't it interesting that usually it's their best players who are accountable, and then I'm talking Xavier McKinney. He made time.
Yeah.
He answered questions.
Jaden Reed.
Jaden Reed.
Sat there in his uniform, I mean, as depressed as he could possibly be, and was like, go ahead.
Yeah, and talked about his drop.
And then Rasheed
know?
Walker doesn't talk all season. How many times have you seen killer penalties from Rasheed Walker?
Doesn't talk.
Okay, and I'm not just.
When's the last time you talked to Carrington?
Never talked to Carrington.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen Carrington Valentine. Like I'm not just throwing. There's it's pretty evenly split. That's a locker room that you got about half of them. They really take accountability. About half of them that there's no accountability at all. Yeah. And accountability is not fun. It is hard. It takes maturity to be accountable in all walks of life.
Yeah.
But when only half your locker room's accountable, is it any mystery that they're an immature team?
That's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
I'm thinking I haven't had a problem with too many guys not being accountable, except for the ones we've just talked about.
Yeah.
Jordan Morgan's never there.
No.
Rashawn Gary's been better. He doesn't really answer the questions. Quay Walker's never around. But Bullard, McKinney, Evan Williams, even Keyshawn Nixon for us.
He's been great. He's been great.
He will answer questions.
He stood in there,
well, even with Keyshawn Nixon, after the first game in Chicago, he gets beat by DJ Moore. And to his credit, he is ready to answer tough questions in that moment. And Nate Hobbs shoos the media away. Now, I'm not saying, woe is us. I understand that no one should care about us. I get that. That's not the point. The point is that part of teaching maturity is accountability. Mm-hmm. And there's no greater example of being accountable than answering questions right after a game or during the week that you don't want to answer. And it doesn't always happen.
Right. Or when you've played poorly.
Yeah. I must say, and I give Nixon his props. I remember, Arizona, when he dropped a couple, potential interceptions. Ask him about it. He stood there and he took those questions. He's like, yeah, you're right, I screwed up. So, again, there's a lot of those guys. Rasheed Walker heading into the Cleveland week said, I believe we're going undefeated. Yeah. And then that offensive line got whipped by the Browns.
They'll have to worry about Rasheed Walker next year.
They don't. But, yeah, he said in the locker room then, he said, no, I'm not talking to y'all ever again this season. I'm like, and in my mind, I'm like, yeah, whatever.
No,
but Jordan Morgan needs to step it up if he's going to be the left tackle. Yeah. He needs to be more visible because, like you said, Sean Ryan always steps in. Young guy Anthony Belton is there to answer questions. So, yeah, but, that's a great point, Ryan, that it's not a good sign when only half of the locker room takes accountability for when things go wrong.
It stood out to me after the Eagles game this year. There were no one on that offense. That offensive line got whipped. Mm-hmm. They got absolutely whipped against the Eagles in a game that came down to why they lost. Mm-hmm. No offensive lineman wanted to talk.
Yeah, same with Baltimore. How many defensive guys stuck around after that Baltimore game? You had 3, 5 at the most.
And those who did were accountable. But it takes more than 3 or 5 to be accountable. Look, I am not saying that if the Packers had answered more media questions they would have won games. That's not the point. The point is that being a professional is being accountable in everything you do as a professional. And when you have a mindset of eschewing accountability, that's soft. That's not being that all-encompassing professional.
But also, we're talking about the Packers, where this is the fans' team. They want to know what's going on. They want to know when things are good. They want to know when things are bad. So, after a game, if you ask Matt LaFleur about it, I got to look at the tape. So why not ask Keyshawn Nixon what he saw on that play or what he saw? So I think it just kind of goes hand in hand of, answering some of those questions.
And you know what I was thinking in the locker room after that Eagles game? My thought, and it's interesting with how the season played out, was, boy, if you can't answer a question about getting whipped, how are you supposed to actually beat an NFL defensive tackle? How are you supposed to beat the man in front of you? You can't even answer a question about it. Yeah. Answering the question is way easier than what your job is of going out there and winning your matchup. That is the hard part. But if you can't do the easy part, how are you going to do the hard part? That, in the end, they couldn't.
Yeah. So again, it's been just what a year, just a weird year. I'll say that. And I always joke, and I say this all the time. I always say, it's part of the job, but when we have to do the preseason picks of who we think will win divisions, who will be in Super Bowls, I hate doing it because I'm always going to feel like an idiot at the end of the season. And at least on the AFC side, I had the Bills in the mix, so at least on that side I'm doing well. But yeah, sometimes it's just you never know what's going to happen. Obviously, we didn't think 15 guys would be on IR this year. But again, that's just the name of the game. So again, it's very, very fascinating to think about how this year transpired.
Well, as predictions go, I wrote in for this prediction story that our staff is doing a week ago that I believe that the Packers, if they avoid the injury bug, will be 2026 Super Bowl champions. Because on paper, there just aren't a lot of teams here that match up talent for talent with what this roster, how it's constructed on paper. And then I saw 21-3 become that. And a loss like that, again, I wrote about it, a loss like that exposes your fabric, and boy, they don't have championship DNA. Talent is most of the game. If you don't have talent in this league, you're not getting to a Super Bowl, but it's not the entirety of it. You've got, and there's a glaring omission when it comes to this DNA.
Yeah, it's fascinating. That was your prediction. Mine, it wasn't like a crazy one, but I thought Matthew Golden could have a breakout sophomore season. Again, I prefaced it with if they throw him the ball. So at least after that playoff game, I feel better.
You look a lot better than me.
That might be the case. But again, if they throw him the ball, I'll say it one more time. If they throw him the ball, you saw what happened. He has strong hands. He's fast.
Breaks tackles.
He breaks tackles. I mean, man, what could we have been seeing throughout this season when he was healthy and on the field, and they used him and not, Bo Melton or, some other not first-round draft pick at receiver. So, guys, we can wrap this up and kind of put a ribbon on this, even though, as you already mentioned at the start of the podcast, none of this might matter.
Might be back soon.
We might be back soon. So let's go ahead and wrap it up, and let's go get some sleep and be prepared to potentially not sleep, because this is the off season, but we'll see how off it actually is. So, guys, any final words, final thoughts?
No.
Always, so appreciate it. And, yeah, thank you all that have checked out the Green 19 podcast throughout this season. We more than likely will have another one at some point throughout this offseason just to keep you updated on what's going on with the Green Bay Packers. But we do thank you very much. So for Ryan Wood, Tom Silverstein, I'm Dominique Yates.